touch. Why don't I touch? What makes me learn that this is a hard surface, I shouldn't touch it, because I will feel bad about that. So I'm waiting in the chat box. I'm looking at the chat box. If you have answers to this question, I'll appreciate your answers. How do humans learn? We're not getting any answers. If you're lazy to type, you can open your mic then. Yes. So Simardeep has answered, and that is a very good answer from the previous experience. So we learn from our experiences. That is the short answer. We learn from our experiences. So we have some experience with maybe we are going shopping to a particular shop, and we shop there. So that means we have some experience, and the shopkeeper also has some experience of like us being their customers. So that experience, the shopkeeper deals with one customer, with the 10 customers, with thousands of customers, with lakhs of customers, and the shopkeeper has some experience that these kind of customers visit my shop. Most of the customers, they visit in the evening. Most of the customers, they spend this much amount of money, right? So if the customers are not very spending a lot of money, the shopkeeper will not provide them or will not stock those kind of items which are very pricey, right? So these are the experiences that we humans learn from. So if lakhs of customers are visiting a shop, and if we can keep track of their shopping behavior in the form of a Excel sheet, that means if we can keep a record of all of their transactions, the date of time of their shopping, what kind of products they bought, how much amount they spent, right? So if we can put all those things in the form of a file, a data file, that means then using that data, we can train a algorithm. That algorithm will just identify the patterns. That the one pattern could be that customers who come in the evening, they spend more money. The customers who come in the afternoon, they spend less money. So those kind of patterns, they are identified by the algorithm, and then based on that, it gives decisions. So the shopkeeper can ask this computer program that when should I have more manpower in the shop. So algorithm can give this kind of decision that like it could be the evening time where the people are more, so accordingly you can put these things on display in proximity. So if somebody is buying bread, they are also buying butter. The algorithm finds it. So the algorithm is making suggestions to the shopkeeper that they can organize their shop in this way, or they can make these kind of things available because people are looking for these kind of things. There are so many different decisions that the shopkeeper can depend upon the machine learning or upon this artificial intelligence algorithm. Like we have just discussed, that machine learning finds pattern in data. Some patterns can be very simple, like for example, this linear line, or some patterns can be very complex, like in this case. So finding patterns in data, that is the job of a machine learning algorithm. We have a large amount of data, and when we say that we are trying to find the pattern in the data, how these data points are related to one another. So that is basically what we mean to say, that we are training an algorithm. So training an algorithm or fitting an algorithm means that we are trying to find out that how these different data points are related with one another. So we can take an example that suppose I have two data points. One is two data points about all the 100 students. That one is that how much time the student is spending every day on study, and second is that what is the score of the student. So if I can train an algorithm to find a mapping in these two variables, and later on a student comes to me that, ma'am, I spend this much time on my studies, and I tell the person, student, that you will score this much marks in your exam. So this is because the algorithm has learned from the data that how the two variables, how the time that the students spend on the studies and how the score they have at the end of the semester, how these two things are related. So the system has learned the pattern, and depending upon that learning, it is able to answer the questions related to these two things. So it can just answer these two questions, that you just tell the algorithm what is your time spent on studies, and algorithm will tell you how much score you will have at the end of the semester. So this kind of system we can create, in which we just provide a lot of data to the algorithm. Basically, we are giving experiences to the algorithm. What is data? Data is experience. So if you have data of thousands of customers, so that means you have coded, or you have put in your file thousands of experiences of customers. So those kind of things we can just analyze, algorithms can analyze, and then can find patterns. So let us see that this artificial intelligence, it started in 1950s. Then two winters came. That means there was not much progress in this field. But later on, starting from 2010, when the concept of deep learning came in, then after that, there is a lot of potential in this field, because deep learning is a kind of technology which makes use of large amount of data, and it can find complex patterns from the data sets. So deep learning has really revolutionized the idea of artificial intelligence, and you can see there are so many applications of artificial intelligence that we use in our everyday life. You just let me know some of the applications that you are having on your mobile phone, maybe which are related to AI. So Amarpal is asking this question: what is the scope in AI industry? Amarpal, at present, if you see, you are a student of information technology. The kind of scope that AI or technology has nowadays, no other field has that much scope. So I think you people are really privileged that you are a student of this technology, AI, and you are going, because whatever is happening nowadays, it is happening in this industry. That I can tell you. So there is a lot of scope of this technology. So why it matters? Why do we need to learn about AI? Because the reason is that AI is going to be everywhere. It is almost everywhere already. So it's important to know about it and understand it, no doubt in this. So this is because the thing is that as I'm interacting with you, supposing that most of you will be following this AI as your career in future, but even if you are not choosing AI as a career, most of you, and mostly you can say all of you, are interacting with the systems nowadays, which are computer-based systems or which are AI-based systems. So it's very important to understand that if this is happening, how it is happening, why it is happening. Like we started our discussion with the concept of how algorithms work in case of Instagram. So it's very natural, intuitive to just explore that what is the reason why, what kind of options we are getting and why we are getting. So a few days back, I was explaining to some of my relatives, like WhatsApp suggestions. When we are typing WhatsApp messages, we are getting suggestions. So how does that work? So that is all AI, which is happening in behind the scenes. So it's very important to understand that whatever options we are choosing or we are using, how they are basically taking place. Let us see some of the ways where we are interacting with the technology. We come across so many applications where face recognition is there. So you might have read about it, or you might have experienced this. So sometimes, like nowadays, due to COVID, when the different businesses they opened, like your gyms, etc. They used to have these kind of applications that they just look at your face and it'll tell whether this person is vaccinated or not. Right, so that kind of face recognition applications are there, where like the system can just click an image of the person, of the user, and then can look into the database, recognize the face, match it with the data face in the database, and corresponding to that, it can take some decision. So similarly, our Punjab police, they also have this kind of system where they can search. The system can recognize faces of criminals in a you can say in a gathering, or where a crowd is there. So these kind of systems, they are all based on AI, where they are using face recognition. And you see that face recognition, after that, it can be associated with so many different things. Like it can be used to check the mood of the user, whether the person is happy or sad or surprised, right? And depending upon that, like gender of the person, or so many other things, we can just read from the face of a person, and accordingly the algorithm can take action. So you can imagine you are exploring Instagram reels, and your camera is on, your system can detect your face, and it can see what kind of mood you are in. So depending upon your mood, it can show you that those kind of posts. So these kind of applications can be created with the help of this face recognition technology. Then there are shopping assistants. Have you seen these shopping assistants? Somebody has seen these shopping assistants in real life? I haven't come across any. So if somebody has seen any shopping assistants, then there is the concept of recommendations. So I think everybody is watching Netflix nowadays. In case of Netflix, you can just like it is same thing, the way we are using Instagram, same kind of way these platforms are working, where it is offering you suggestions or recommendations depending upon the past history of the user, the way, the kind of shows you are viewing, and the system will determine which show next you are likely to watch. So depending upon that, it will show you the suggestions. So it could happen that there are some shows, because they don't match with what you are already watching, so you won't get a opportunity to watch those things. You might be interested in those things, but because you haven't watched that similar kind of thing in history, you won't be shown that show in the recommendation. So that is the drawback of these systems. At the same time, so this is another thing which is happening because the systems are intelligent enough. The price discrimination. You might have seen that there are. It's not, the price is not nowadays dependent upon the cost of a product. That if the product may be of the same value, but to some customer it is sold at a different price. If the person is buying in bulk, if the person is buying it near some festival, then the price is different. If the person is buying ordinary, like for personal consumption, then the price is different. So these different types of systems, they do exist because of this artificial intelligence. Nowadays there are robots running hotels. So there are some hotels, like I'll just show you an example of this hotel which is being run. It's a hotel in Japan. So this hotel is basically doing all kind of activities with the help of robots. When you check into the hotel, or when you put your like to carry luggage to the room, right? So all these kind of activities, they are performed by robots. So this is the hotel that is like one example of such hotel that is in Japan, and you can see on the right bottom. I hope you are able to see the slide. Okay, I think I should make some change. Oh, okay. So I should share the whole screen. Only then we will be able to see this. I will stop sharing and I will share again. I should share entire screen. Okay. So here in this, you can see that the fastest on the right bottom, you can see easiest way to make reservation and inquire. Feel free to ask AI bot. So this is you can see the exciting customer service by robots. So they are doing all those kind of things with the help of robots. And I later found on the internet only that their guests were not very happy with the robots. So some of the guests, they were annoyed the way they were using this much technology, and so they just had to get rid of some of the robots that they were using. So cutting edge technology they are using in their devices. Okay, so they are offering a lot. Uh, okay, so then we have one interesting activity. If you can access internet on your device, like if you have uh, you're using a desktop, let's try it with your PC as well. So this is the link. I don't think you'll be able to see the link. I should copy this link and okay, so this is a game. Basically, in this game, I just have to think of some associations in between two words. So when I am giving the suggestions of good associations, the score will be high. So let us play this game. And in this game, it is asking, type the first thing that comes to mind when you think of camera. And I say pick. Okay, so it is next, it will be the word must associated with the pick or just sorted to the bottom. So you can see that what it has found. Okay, it has given me some score. Okay. Okay, so next comes the word and I give the nearest option that I have in my mind. Flower, I say rose. Okay. Clock, I say time. Plant, I say water. So basically, this is a kind of game which is tracking that what kind of associations I am creating. And depending upon that, it is giving me all these scores. So how does this algorithm, how does it learn that the association that I'm creating, is it a good association or is it not a good association? Because it is giving me score on the basis of that. So it has been trained on a lot of data, right? It has been trained on a lot of, you can say, natural language text. So you can imagine Wikipedia or those kind of resources, they are used to train the algorithms, where these algorithms learn that how different words are associated with the one another. And using that association, they have created this game, and you can just guess what could be the most associated word with whatever word they are offering. And if your associations that you are mentioning, the words are having good association, you'll be getting good score and you can enjoy a game. So this game is basically having in the background the machine learning algorithms. Machine learning or deep learning, you can imagine both can work. Second thing is, it's again another activity. Like, I'll give this only if you like poetry. Do we have people who like poetry? Anybody having poetry as an interest? So nowadays, writing has become very easy. Writing has become very easy, and I'll show you. If you are not, like most of us are not that good in writing, even then we can write. So for that, this AI can again help us. So this verse by verse is a system which is experimental, and it is AI powered, right? AI powered in the sense that you can use the system to write a poem. And for that, you have to choose some inspirations. So it has given you a list of poets. So if you are, like, I haven't read any poetry as well, but if you just randomly, I have heard about these names, and I am just choosing three people out of this list. And then next. So, what kind of poetic form I want? Let us say free verse, number of syllables for each line of verse. How long your line should be? I say maybe 9 characters. And okay, so it is giving me. Okay, so here I can just type something. What should I type? Mm, So it is giving me suggestions. You can see on the right, there are so many suggestions. Okay. So uh, I just choose some of the options that are there. I'm not reading much on this, what it has, what options it is giving, but I'm just randomly, just to show that this kind of thing uh, exists. Okay, so this way you can create your points. And when I say finish, so I have given this leaves as a hint, and it has given me tulip as one of the options. So this poem is you can say there, and how it has happened, how it has occurred. This is again due to AI. So you can copy this text and paste it somewhere where you want to brag about your poetic skills, and you can just decorate it the way you want. So this is another application of AI. Okay, so this is the last one in this category. If you enjoy doing some drawings kind of things, then we have this activity. Do you want to try it? I can share with you the link, and you can try this on your own as well. Okay, so this is related to drawings, and it says, let's draw. I just click here. It says that draw a fire truck in under 20 seconds, and the kind of drawing skills that I have. Okay, just okay. Now it says draw a foot in under 20 seconds. Okay, so I did it. Draw leg. So I'm trying to make it look okay. Bulberry, I don't know. Blueberry. Okay, okay. Okay. So it's not able to take out that. Okay, so this is the output of this program. It has, I was just making some drawings, and out of this, it has been able to identify that I was drawing a fire track. It was able to identify the shape of a foot. It was able to identify the shape of a leg and of a string bean. But it, whatever you have the kind of doodling that I did, it couldn't identify that it was a calculator or it was blueberry. So basically, it is making all these suggestions on the basis of the database that it has. So just let us see the data, how much data they have. Quick draw the data, and you can just look at, let us say, for example, I choose apple. Now these are so many different shapes of apples, so many different shapes of apples, and they have just collected these different shapes, different drawings by people who are playing on this platform. So there could be children, there could be grown-ups who are drawing the shape of a apple, and this system is collecting all that, right? And then this collection can be used for creating more applications. So I hope you enjoyed this activity, and you enjoyed the kind of things that are existing. So let us see that how these kind of systems, how this kind of data set can be used. Any guess? Any guess how this, so many different collections of drawing an apple, or we have seen there are so many different objects, like it has made me draw 6 objects at least in one game. So it is having a large collection of all these different shapes of the objects. Can you guess how these can be used? What kind of applications can be created with these? Any idea that you have? So one option is that it can be used in kindergartens. Like you can develop an application where students, small kids, they are drawing the shape of an apple. You can ask the kid to draw an apple, and the kid draws an apple. Then your system can immediately compare that apple with the data set, the database that it has, and it can identify that whether the student has created basically an apple or something different. So it could be a very good resource for learning different shapes or different types of objects. I think I shouldn't go into the history of AI, because we can come back again. You just let me know if you want to know the history of AI. I'm skipping, but I'll just mention 2 things. That this field started in 1950s, but there were a few phases where when this AI field was not making any progress, and that phase was called AI winter. So in the life span of AI so far, there were two winters, right? So those were the two phases of this technology when something substantial was not happening. So now we are moving towards the second part of this discussion, and in this we will. Before I go into those concepts, I'll just let you know about one algorithm that is called the decision trees. So we will just look at the concept of this algorithm, decision trees. Like when we are making decisions. So suppose like we have to classify animals. So you can look at the top of this figure. We have four animals. We want to classify these four animals. Okay. So that means we have to make some criteria. Using which criteria we want to classify the animals? For example, we choose color of the animal as one of the criteria. So out of the four, we have two animals which have gray as the color, so they come to the right, and two animals which are not of gray color, they come to left. Okay, so now we have some decision criteria that two animals are in one category, two animals are in the second category. After this, we have another criteria on the left, that we are classifying animals on the basis of the legs, that they have two legged. There is one two legged, and the second is four legged. Similarly, for the animals on the right, we are having another criteria, whether the animal is tall or is you could say short in height. So depending upon that, we have another classification of the animals. So at the end, we have all the four animals classified on the basis of some criteria. So we have four different categories in which we can put all these four animals. Similarly, if we are taking clothing as an example, then we can also have different types of classification. Yes, yes. If there is any question. Okay. So clothing example means that if you have a lot of, you can say, objects which are related to clothing, and you just want to classify them. You can imagine you are shopping online using some Flipkart or Myntra kind of platform, and then you are applying filters. You want all the clothes of green color, you want all the clothes from a particular brand or of a particular uh, uh, price, right? So depending upon that, you like the classification is done, categorization is done. So similarly, you can choose long sleeves clothes on one side, and with no sleeves as clothes on the another side. So depending upon your criteria, the products at the end, they are all classified into different categories. So the important question is, how did you design your tree? Do you think that for all different objects, there could be only one classification? There could not be, because depending upon what kind of task we are doing. For example, if you want to make hot coffee or you want to make cold coffee, the procedure is different. Procedure is not same if you are preparing hot coffee or you are preparing cold coffee. Procedure is not same. So for different types of tasks, algorithms are not same. Algorithms are different. So what we have learned so far is that AI systems are specific to a purpose. If you want to classify animals, depending upon what criteria you want to choose for classification, accordingly the classification will be created. So it's not that there is only one criteria to classify. There could be any number of criteria that you want that can be used. So each decision tree classifies things differently depending upon who made it. So by creating a decision tree based on your own experiences, there could be a potential for bias. So this is the second part of the discussion that we want to spend some time on. That we have seen that artificial intelligence, it is working in almost all the domains that we are using nowadays as far as technology is concerned. But how we are using these systems, it's very important to understand that how we are interacting with these systems and how these systems are taking our from us the experiences that we have. But there could be some kind of negative you can say some negative kind of experience could also be there. So because the problem is that there is potential for bias in AI. So let us try to understand what is bias. I hope like everyone understands something which is fair, something which is not fair, right? So we have our daily experiences. So sometimes we feel that we are like someone is treating me or you not equally. Like sometimes people have some favorites, and there is some kind of discrimination that is happening. So in our daily day-to-day life, we feel that the other person, somebody X, is being favored, right? And I'm not being given those kind of privileges that the other person is being given. So that is when it is happening, some discrimination is there. So that means the system is not fair with you, right? So that is the meaning of fair, treating people equally without favoritism or discrimination. So algorithmic, because what is happening nowadays, humans are not making decisions. Algorithms are making decisions. I'm watching Instagram reels. Will I watch which video will I watch next? Who will decide that? Algorithm will decide that. So algorithm decisions are said to be fair if they do not create discrimination. So bias could be there when we are human, when we humans are making decisions, or when algorithms are making decisions. So when we humans, because our experiences are being fed to the AI systems, so if we have biases in our experiences, obviously all those will be reflected in the decisions of the algorithms. So fair and bias, how they are related. Fair means that absence or minimization of bias. So fair means that not favoring one over another. So bias is giving advantage to one group or one thing or one person over others. So when we say bias means that we are not being fair, we are unfair. So we have two more questions, and I expect all of you to participate in this. Otherwise, I don't think like the kind of interaction that we should have, it is there. So first question first. Please put your answer to this question. Which news channel you watch most frequently? If you are just given a choice now that you have a remote control in your hand and you can change the channel. So which channel you will switch to? Okay. So Sandeep ji, only you are watching NDTV. I think nobody else is. Just joking. I'm not getting any other responses. Star Sports, Aaj Tak, ABP News. So how is NDTV different from all these other channels? I don't think I like we should uh, compare. Yes, yes, please. Uh, okay. Yeah, yeah, you're right. So Robin Deep is saying that NDTV is not biased. So probably Sandeep is watching that news channel, and it means that Sandeep is able to identify that sense of bias in news channels. This uh, kind of thing, we can say that it reflects your alignment, maybe your style of accepting the things around you, right? Some, like we say that somebody is doing something and we say the person is right, and some other person may say that, maybe having some objective opinion that that is not correct. I mean, that kind of thing happens. So this bias means that you are watching a particular channel because it conforms to your ideology. uh, just let me know if I'm wrong in this. Yeah. Yes. So that is a kind of bias that we have, because if somebody is not comfortable with the way some news channel is presenting the news, and probably because you are not conforming with their viewpoint. So you can imagine if some channel is all in praise for the government, right? It could be any government, and you are not happy with what the government is doing, so you won't be comfortable watching those news channels. So you'll be more comfortable with some other news channel which is giving you other point of view. So that is basically a source of bias, and this bias has nothing to do with the technology. This is coming from our behavior, like the way we humans react, or the way we humans do, uh, or we have the perceptions of the things around us. Then second question, thanks for your response. Second question is, have you ever blamed someone else when something doesn't work the way you want? Second question. Ravindip, is this question, answer for the second question? Okay, so Deep says, I think everyone does it. So let us see some more responses, please. Are we getting responses from students? I think, okay, okay. Uh, yeah, that's very good, very good. Okay, so I haven't got anyone who says no to this question. So this is again human psychology that we have, that most of the times when something bad happens, we always blame others, and we are ourselves the last to get the blame for that. Okay, so these are all biases. These are all examples of biases, like we talked about, only tuning into news and stories that confirm your opinions, and constantly blaming others if things don't go your way, and sometimes attributing other people's success to luck. Somebody is successful, we say that person is lucky, and we hardly try to see the kind of struggle that person might have gone through. So bias is a important concept that we need to understand. But the question is that when we are talking about artificial intelligence, why should we care about bias? Okay, what the reason is why we are talking about bias in AI. So we talk about challenges of using AI. We are not related concerned with all the challenges, but we will be basically focusing on the center one, bias and ethical use of AI. So when we are using AI is powerful and has produced impressive results in many fields. We have already seen that. But there is hidden use of AI that can be dangerous. So there are people who are marginalized. I mean, if it is, there are some sections of the society which are not having a proper representation in the the systems. So we say we are collecting data. If we are collecting data only of men and not that much of women, I mean, some data of women is collected, but not as much as of men. I'm just giving an example. So that means the system that we are creating, it will be biased against women. It is able to identify all possible patterns in which men are involved, but there it'll lose some experiences in which women are involved, right? So you can imagine if you are having a class in college and all, like, majority of the boys are there and very few girls are sitting. So if people are asking for a holiday for some kind, maybe for some match, right? So because majority is of boys and they are interested in watching a match, so you will happily say that you can go, like, have a holiday or you can bunk the class. So you may imagine the girls, they are not interested in that match, but you are not bothered about this because they are very negligible part of the class. So similar could happen if there are more girls and there are less boys again, because if girls are deciding something, you may go with the decision of the girls and you may just ignore what the boys has to say about that. So this is the problem. We are biased against the people who are not dominating. So if someone is dominating, the decision is taken keeping that person in consideration. But if something is not dominating, we just ignore it and we go. So that is the kind of problem. If it is something which is not very, like, for example, watching a match, that may not be the kind of discrimination that the person may feel a lot about. But there could be several instances. For example, a doctor is using AI to decide that whether a particular patient should be given this treatment or not. And you can see that if there is a disease which is a very rare disease and there are not much experiences from which the AI algorithm has learned, right? Because the disease is very rare. So AI program has not come across many instances, many examples of that disease. And we, as for example, as a doctor, we are dependent upon that AI program to give us a suggestion that what kind of treatment should we suggest to that patient. And you can imagine, because AI program is not that much experienced, it doesn't have that much data to learn the pattern. So it might provide us a suggestion which is not in the which is not good for the well-being of the patient. So that is very important, that when we are learning from data, does our data have all the experiences that it should have? If we are not able to collect that much data, or if in the data there are very few examples of one kind and very large number of examples of another kind, we should not be like considering this AI program a reliable program, because it may affect human well-being where it is put into practice. So this is an example of bias in facial recognition technology. You can imagine that this is a application for passport renewal. This is a passport renewal application which makes use of face recognition, and it is giving error to this person, to this user. It says to the user, you can just read the message which is encircled in red. The photo you want to upload does not meet our criteria because subject eyes are closed. So it is assuming that subject eyes are closed, but the problem is that this person is of Asian descent and this person has eyes of this type. That is his natural, you can say, the body part, the eyes, they are naturally of this type. But this system is assuming that this user has eyes closed. So this system, what do you understand from this? Our understanding should be that this system is not giving correct prediction. It's not giving correct prediction. The eyes are open, but the eyes are not that much open as of people from other geographical locations, from other countries. So it is just assuming that the eyes are closed. But this prediction of this software, of this program, is wrong. Why the prediction is wrong? Because this AI program, what we can deduce from it, that this program has not been trained on examples of people from these countries where they have this natural feature, the kind of eyes they have, that is their natural feature. So that means this program has not got training on people from those regions. And for these people, it is giving wrong predictions. So this is bias. I mean, the program has been trained on data, but that data is not sufficient that it can recognize every face on the earth, right? So this kind of what you will do as a user when you come across this kind of system and you are sitting in your complete posture and it is giving you this kind of error that your eyes are closed, so I'm not accepting your picture for this purpose. So you can just imagine how the user will feel in this kind of situation, right? So this is a kind of bias that comes into AI based systems. When the AI based systems, they are not trained properly on the complete data set that it should be trained on. Then similarly, there was this kind of thing which was happening in the ad world. There were some experiments and it was found that people are browsing the web, females are browsing the web, males are browsing the web. But when the gender is set to female, the kind of ads, recruitment ads, job ads, the people are getting, they are less paying in comparison to when the in the privacy settings of the browser, you can imagine the gender setting is to male. High paying jobs were displayed to the user. But if the gender was set to female, low paying jobs were displayed to the user, right? So same technology, same thing, but for female users, it is predicting or it is offering the low paying jobs, but for male users, it is offering high paying jobs. So that is again because it is learning from data. And data says, for example, you have a data set in which all the females in the data set, they are low paid. That could be natural because you have not taken the data set across all the females. There could be females who are working at high paying jobs. But because this data set doesn't have those examples of females which are working at high paying jobs. So whenever it encounters gender as female, it just picks up the salary range which belongs to females corresponding to the existing data set, and it is showing those low paying jobs to women. Similarly, there is language bias. For example, English as a language, it has been used most of the times on the internet. And can you find your Hindi language here? We can't talk about Punjabi, but even our Hindi language is not there in this list. So this language bias, because you won't be getting any content on Punjabi or on Hindi. Most of the content would be in English or Russian because these are the dominating languages on the internet. So this is again a kind of bias. If you just want to learn something from the data set corresponding to Punjabi language, your system will not be able to recognize that because there is very less amount of the content in this language that exists in the electronic form. So that is again a kind of problem that you can expect. This is I think how much time do we have? I think it's lunch time, so I should just go according to that.
Hello, Kulchi.
Yes, Sonika, how much time we can have?
You can have how much time as much as you want. Say it was supposed to be 1 or 1.5 hour session.
Okay, so we started at probably 1, right? So
almost 1.
1, you know? So we have around 10-15 minutes more then because it's lunch time. So that's why I was more concerned about it.
Okay.
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 So this is another example. This is again a very famous example of bias in AI-based systems, and this happened in USA, where they were having a AI-based system which was predicting the people who are committing crimes. So the system basically predicted for crime on the basis of race, whether the person is a white or the person is a black. So you can see the kind of prediction that system gave. It labeled a person higher risk, right? But didn't reoffend. That person didn't reoffend, and you can just see the probability. The probability of the system predicting a person as an offender for black, it was you can say. Labeled higher risk but didn't reoffend. So they labeled like African American on higher risk, and out of those whom they the system predicted as high risk, only you can imagine only 45% 45% of them didn't reoffend. But out of them, white 24% didn't reoffend. So you can imagine there were more whites who reoffended, and there were less Africans, Americans, or you can say less blacks who reoffended. So you can imagine that blacks were given higher risk, but the people who were reoffending, that means committing the mistake again, they were very less. So the program identified that this person is committing crime, but that kind of prediction was not justified. It was predicting whites for less in comparison to blacks. So people who are committing crime, the system was predicting that whites are committing less crime as compared to blacks. But they did this kind of analysis that what if the system has predicted that white will commit a crime, right? So after that, did the white reoffend? That means did the white committed a crime again? And they found that whites were committing crimes more in comparison to the blacks, as was predicted by the system, AI-based system. So like in the next row, you can see the AI-based system. They labeled whites as low risk and blacks as high risk. But then again, they found that the system has predicted them whites as low risk, but their probability to reoffend was around 50%. But for blacks who are committed low risk, who were predicted low risk, their you can say probability to reoffend was just 28%. So the system is biased against the black. It could happen that more blacks are like in the system, it is having examples of blacks committing crime, and it doesn't have the examples of white committing crimes. So the data set that they have, in which white has less frequency of committing crime, it could be that whites are committing crime, but they are not being tracked for that, right? Blacks are more tracked for committing crimes. So that bias is in the data, and correspondingly that bias travels to the decision making output of the AI program. So there are different sources of bias, like we see that they can come from the data that we are having. Okay. So these are the two questions that whenever there are particular groups, like we are using any AI-based system, what we can think about is that who is having the advantage of using the system and who is having a disadvantage of using the system. Like, for example, police is using some AI-based programs for predicting that whether this person will commit a crime or whether this person will commit a crime. So we have to see that, is it dependent upon the race of people, or is it dependent upon the gender of people? It should not happen that race or some group is having a benefit of this system because it is not predicting that group as committing a crime, and some other group may be at a disadvantage. The thing is that the systems should be fair. It should be equal for all. It should not be that it is predicting something just based on some characteristics, right? And it is predicting one class at a higher level of probability than the other class. So it should not be motivated by any kind of criteria, maybe race or maybe gender. So all people, they should be treated as equal. Like we expect that in the society around us, everybody is treated as equal. So same we are expecting from the AI programs. And what is the potential damaging effect of uncertainty or errors to different groups? Like we took an example of a patient. If a patient comes to a doctor and a patient is suffering from a rare disease, and doctor uses a AI based system to suggest treatment to that patient, and we know that if the treatment goes wrong because the treatment has not been tested on a sufficient examples of patients, so if the treatment goes wrong, we may lose that patient, right? So that kind of problem, we also have to see that if the AI program is having some damaging effect, how damaging that effect could be. Is it loss of a life that may be there, or is it just a kind of some annoying behavior is there? So depending upon that, we have to see that whether we are the AI system that we are creating or that we are using, how fair it is for the people who are using it. So this is, you can say, for as a student, when you are using any AI based system, uh, that you can learn, does the system impact you or others you care about? And like your family, your grandparents or your siblings, maybe like we have in our families people who are able to do anything, and sometimes they have some disabilities, right? So like some person is having low vision or those kind of things. The thing is that any system that is created, it should be available to all. And when you see any kind of system where the people don't have that same level of comfort to use that system, so that means that system is not taking the example from that particular segment of society. So you can imagine you have a self-driven public transport, and in that self-driven public transport, like it is taking the examples, or it is taking into consideration the experiences of only young people, but it is not taking, like the old people, they are not using public transport. So that means your self-driven public transport will not be aware of the problems of people who are in advanced age of life. It could be as simple as that, suppose somebody wants to get into a bus, and able person, physically able person will get into a bus very fast, but a person suffering from some disability or a person who is aged may take some more time to get into the bus. So if it is a self-driven bus, the bus, the AI program that is managing the bus, it should be able to understand that the person is taking more time. There could be people who may take more time. There could be people who may take less time to get into the bus. So that kind of expectation we should have from the systems that are being created nowadays, which are AI based systems. So the question is, are you represented? So same thing, like if aged persons are there using the system, or only the people who are good in health, only they are using the system. Is there enough data on people like you? Does the system make accurate predictions about you? Does the system make errors about you? Will you have access to the system? Does the system have potential to harm you? So these are different questions that should come up in our minds when we are using any AI based systems, because what we need to understand is that all these questions, they can be addressed. It is not that these questions cannot be addressed. So, like we took an example of a public transport system. It is not that it cannot learn how a old age person will use the transport. It can learn only when it is giving enough number of examples to learn this. So whosoever is proposing a AI based program for this, maybe for example BMW comes up with a self driven public transport system. So that means that BMW has to create a system which can learn from different types of passengers, old age, people with disabilities, small children. So everyone can use this public transport system. So the system has to be created like this. So it is not that if it is not able to predict how much time a particular passenger will take to get into the bus. So you can imagine it can learn that on this stoppage, which is near the residential area, people will need more time to get into the bus. But this is a commercial place, there more people will get into the bus at a fast speed. So this kind of difference the system has to learn, and it can learn. So we should be able to identify, we should be able to reason about this, that is this system good for all, or what is the problem with the system, because we need to be aware of that what kind of problems this system can solve. So sometimes we are not aware of that how it works, so we can't question anything that the system cannot do. But I think with these kind of interactions we can learn that what are the capabilities of this system, how do these systems learn. So if the system is not able to learn anything, for example if the system is not able to recognize, so that means the system has not been trained on this kind of data. So we can always question whosoever is creating the system. So you can just search physicist on the Google, and if we have students, they can just do this activity. You can search a physicist on the Google, and you can see what are the results of this. So let me do this. Physicist. So let us see what is the result of this search. Let us look at the images. So in these images, mostly what do we see? Who is in the majority? Men or women, or old scientists or new scientists? So this system has learned most of the examples from old scientists, right? We can see a few scientists again and again, and there are very few examples of female scientists in this case. And we are searching this today when there is a lot of talk on bias in AI. If you could have searched it a few years back when people were not considering bias kind of things in AI systems, you would not have seen this as the result of this task. So let us see if I can. I think I have that picture. So this is a few years back. This was the situation. So the systems, they are learning from their mistakes. So this is wrong that if we are looking for a physicist, it is showing us all examples of male members, and that again a few people who are historically important figures. They are showing only those images. So later on, when people started talking about bias, these systems like Google, they also worked on their systems, and they tried to reduce bias in the AI programs that they are using. So similarly, you can look at this quick draw and look for the faces database. Should we spend that much time on this? Quick draw. I was looking for the link for this. we had in the activities. Okay. Okay, so this is a quick draw, and we want to look for. Okay, this is. I think we. If I just type faces over here, will I get over there? Okay, faces. It's not showing. I think that will take time to search for it.
Pujit, in the URL, faces keyword is missing. That's why it's showing everything.
Okay, faces. I think I typed faces.
Data is there. No? Faces.
Okay. I think I typed. Let us try. No, it's not giving. It's something we are missing. I don't see any face over here, so I think it will take more time to look for a face and then look for similar. I think we can look for shoes, for example. Let me try just once. If we can look for shoes. Then we have to play the game first, and then we can get access to the whole data. So, like you can imagine, if we are looking at shoes, just listen to this carefully. So, for example, if I ask some people to draw shoes, and by chance, when I ask people to draw shoes, these are all men who are drawing shoes, and men, they don't wear high heels, right? So most probably the kind of images that they will draw, they will be all you can say flat shoes. So that means if after some time, for example, a woman just gets access to this system, and we ask her draw a shoe, and she draws a shoe with the heel, so our system will not be able to identify that shoe as a shoe, because that shoe doesn't match with the patterns that we have in the system already, right? So this is again the, after some experience, like after like more women join the system, and they explore the system, and when they are asked to draw a shoe, they start drawing shoes with heels, and slowly the system will learn that yes, this is also a picture of a shoe. So that kind of thing can be used when we are dealing with the systems, that they learn from interactions. So when you look at a system, sometimes you just have a few examples, but with time, the system learns from more examples of that time. So what are the ways to mitigate this bias? Bias is not good in any system. Every system should be a fair system. So if any system is not a fair system, so there are problems with people who are dealing with that system. So how can we get rid of that bias? The first thing is learn from feedback and errors. Big tech companies are realizing this. Like I just show you Google. So if you have Googled a few years back, you can just search for nurse and all these kind of things. If you search for nurse, you will get more images of women in comparison to men. But like these companies, they are searching, and with time they are trying to get rid of that. How can we get rid of bias? Simple solution is expand your data set, right? Include more examples of data, more examples of data that should be representative of whatever sector of whatever segment of the society you are targeting your application on, right? So balanced training data for you in constructing ML models, like you might, if somebody is dealing with the ML, there is imbalanced data. So if you are using more data, you can use more for predictions related to female in comparison to predictions related to males. Then there are options to create new bias evaluation methods. Interpretal AI is there. Models which are black boxes. We should be able to look behind that why this decision has been taken by the algorithm. Like we are able to understand the recommendation engines, like the way recommendations are made for Instagram Reels, for example. So we know that it depends upon our own way of watching the kind of content we are spending more time on. So Instagram recommendation engines, they are presenting us with the related videos or images. The last thing is, like we have talked about this earlier as well, build an open data set and partnerships to develop new data sets. So you can imagine that this open draw kind of thing, where anybody who goes to the platform is made to draw six drawings, right? So when we are creating drawings, we are adding more and more to the data set. You can imagine how a small kid is drawing an apple, how a grown up is drawing an apple. Like if it is asking me to draw a shoe, I will draw a shoe, the kind of shoes that I have seen, but somebody else may draw a shoe that the other person has seen. So we are creating a large amount of data set, and I like I showed you that these kind of applications like OpenDraw, it could be used for training small kids. So a small kid could be shown images of shoes or apple or any kind of thing. They can be trained to draw these different types of shapes using these AI programs. If we have covered this, where has it gone? So that was all in this topic that we were supposed to discuss. If there are any questions from your side, yes.
Excuse me, ma'am, there is one question from the audience.
Yes.
Can you name some of the algorithms that are used for AI?
There are algorithms, like if you are having this machine learning, there are many algorithms like naive bias is there. You just open any book on machine learning and you will come across different algorithms for classification, for regression, like linear regression is there, logistic regression is there, XGBoost is there. So there are a number of algorithms, you can imagine hundreds of algorithms are there related to machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. All these are different technologies which are related to artificial intelligence. The recommendation algorithms are another category of algorithms.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other queries from the audience, please?
Strong AI or weak AI? I haven't come across this. There is one word, singularity is very popular. Like I was discussing in the session also, singularity means that a time will come. Just you can imagine 10, 12 years. Within next 10, 12 years, where they imagine that machines will be more intelligent than humans. So that is one theory which is being proposed, but I haven't heard about strong AI or weak AI.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us from the last 1.5, approximately 2 hours. I think this session is very much interactive, interesting, as well as knowledgeable. As ma'am explained everything, almost everything with the help of activities, lot of examples like drawing activity, poem writing assistant, and many more. Ma'am started the session with the Instagram as an application of AI, and later on linked it with the machine learning and deep learning. Ma'am also briefed about the Turing test that was done by the Alan Turing. Ma'am told us about the various more applications like driverless vehicles, how they learn from the human experience, speech recognition, face recognition. With the help of face recognition, how the person can be detected whether it is vaccinated or not, whether he is happy or sad, like that. Very interesting application. Some shopping assistant, language translator, robots run hotels, and later on, ma'am told us about the bias in the, because nothing is 100% fair, foolproof. So there are some biases in the artificial intelligence also. Ma'am also told us about the decision tree. Really, ma'am, this is very wonderful experience. Ma'am shared everything in easy and understandable way. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sparing your valuable time. Thanks on the behalf of Computer Department, DAV College of Bhopal. Over to you, Sonika ma'am, if there is anything more.
Sujit, it was a great session. Actually, whenever we talk about AI, we mostly imagine smart robots like Rajnikant as Chitti. I think that is strong AI. Like one of the students was asking about it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it was strong AI. But I think being IT professionals, we should know that today almost all the fields are using AI. Maybe that app doesn't have two legs or two eyes or two hands, but AI is working behind all those apps, right? So we have learned a lot today. I hope that students have gained insight of AI process as well as applications. So it was very informative, and you made it interesting by using games, apps, and examples, and so many things. So thank you for this wonderful session, Tulji. It
Thank
was
you. Thanks
great.
for attention. I think
We,
all of you sitting
I
during
Tulji,
lunchtime.
just a minute. Tulji, just a minute.
Yes. Yes.
Weak AI, I think, according to me, weak AI is it doesn't have the full capabilities of human beings, right? So, but these are working applications. These are using AI application, AI algorithms. Whichever app is using AI application, that is AI. But it may not be as strong as human beings. According to me,
Uh,
I have to explore it more. But I think this is weak AI. Someone asked, no?
there is one more concept related to this, which is general AI and narrow AI. General
Okay.
AI is like human intelligence, almost human intelligence. That is general AI.
Hmm.
I mean, you can use that in every branch. But narrow AI is like you, that is branch specific. You have created a face recognition system, that is narrow AI.
Expert system,
Yeah,
like expert
yeah.
system. Right.
So general means if you can mimic general intelligence of a human being, and that is a task which may take years to
Years to come.
succeed.
Right. So, any more questions, students? General AI like used in? You are being very specific. What is this? Pujit, can you take up the question? There is
No,
something.
used a new link. I haven't heard about this newer link, but it is.
Actually, students, there are so many apps which are using this. So one is not supposed to know about all of these things. So I think we will have another session about these questions. Okay. So for now we can conclude this, Kumbar sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kuljeet, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you all the teammates as well as all the participants. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for your time and attention. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All of you may leave, please. Thank you so much.